Welcome to a spooky Monday night sports show, Rams. I'm Erica Johnson.
And I'm Rachel Hallam. Tonight on CTV Sports, we break down CSU's loss to Fresno State, and I sat down with Stephanie Johnson of the CSU Together initiative.
Ethan talks social justice and racial climate investigation with Brooke, Hudson. And, of course, we have our CTV Sports Pickem.
Don't go anywhere, Rams, because CTV Sports starts right now.
Fall weekend may be over, but CSU football has finally kicked off and looks to be around for fall weekends to come. But in their first game of the season, the Rams were not able to capitalize against the Fresno State Bulldogs, as they were defeated 38-17. Thursday night, under the lights in Fresno, the Rams' defense lacked execution, which led to big plays for Fresno State. The game was tied up 10-10 late in the second. However, the man-to-man coverage for the Rams' defense just was not there. You see, as Jake Hanner goes to Ronnie Rivers for a 13-yard touchdown, almost too easy.
Then we have Todd Centeio handing off to Marcus McElroy. He has to fight a little bit to get to the end zone, but he does. 15-yard touchdown run. It's going to be the first for the Rams. Not many that night, though.
And then 4th and 7 for the Rams, and Fresno State's defense just, they're going towards the end zone. And he was in for Rivers, and it was just too easy, no man coverage.
Hainer again with an easy touchdown here to his wide receiver, Jordan Mims, who had the easiest touchdown of the game, untouched, 15 yards.
And then 4th and 7, the Rams go for it, and their defense just comes in clutch.
Patrick O'Brien was put in late in the game for the Rams and throws a nice 20-yard touchdown pass to Trey McBride, but it was too late. Rams couldn't get on the board fast enough. Rams' new starting quarterback, Todd Centeio, ended his night with 10 of 23 passes completed for only 114 yards. But got it done on the ground, finishing as the Rams' leading rusher of the game with 13 carries for 80 yards. Of the 2 touchdowns the Rams put up on the board, running back Marcus McElroy Jr. scored the first on his 15-yard rushing touchdown early in the second quarter, his longest run of the night. Ultimately, the 6', 235-pound back only had 12 carries for 35 yards on the ground. And while Centeio was the leading rusher for the Rams, junior tight end Trey McBride led the Rams in the air with 8 receptions for a career-high 130 yards, including his 20-yard touchdown reception from last year's starting quarterback Patrick O'Brien late in the fourth quarter.
Looking at the Bulldogs stats on the game, Fresno State scored 31 unanswered points following the McElroy touchdown run. Fresno's quarterback Jake Hanner set career highs in his performance with 311 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. His running mate Ronnie Rivers also tied his career best with 3 scores of his own, with 2 rushing and 1 receiving. Although the Rams left their first game with a blowout loss in their pocket, they look forward to their upcoming border war rival matchup against the 1-1 Wyoming Cowboys, who come to town to face the Rams this Thursday night.
Yeah, it was tough to see that they had a loss in their first game. I know the first game against New Mexico got canceled, so that was a bummer, but seeing them lose that first game was really tough. But, you know, they're looking to bounce back, and, of course, going into such a big rivalry like going against the Cowboys, it's going to be good to see, and hopefully they can bring back the boot to Fort Collins.
Yes, gotta get that boot.
While CSU football may have been defeated in their first game of the season, CSU athletics has seen some impressive changes. Coming together during these pressing times may seem like one of the hardest things to do. CSU has looked to its athletics community to keep the student population's heads up and focus on the constant positive movement forward that continues to surround campus as these prominent competitors continue to spark discussion over race relations within the United States. And playing into this ongoing conversation over racial equality, I was able to sit down with CSU softball and cheer athletic trainer Stephanie Johnson, who had an integral role in shaping the Universities Together initiative, and to find out more about the future of the initiative. So what do you hope most of all to get out of this Together initiative going farther?
I hope that we can still engage in the conversation and take it to the next level to where we make it a process in our everyday life to be conscious of behaviors and sensitivities, but also, my hope is not just to focus on the Black community. I want it to be throughout, because diversity and inclusion just doesn't include Black people. There's, people with disabilities, sexual preferences, sexual orientation, all.
What are some next steps that you see the initiative having farther?
So we kind of restructured our, our educational piece and how we want to put out our information. So our next step is kind of implementing that. So we changed from kind of just having, we want to do a voter initiative, we want to do the book clubs. So we want to kind of backtrack a little bit and say we want to talk about policing and over-policing. What is the education over that? Like what's a no-knock warrant? What does that entail? What states have a no-knock warrant, as well as concealed carry? What does that all mean in the areas of policing? Have that be the educational piece. Move to the engaged piece to have, people from the community, like police officers, lawyers, judges, people who make up these laws, to have an engagement, like an engaged activity. And then we go to Excel to kind of see how well people took that activity or engagement.
With all these student-based improvements combined with a constant push for awareness, it is important to keep in mind that it is not a one-person job. It takes a community to make a change.
From a player at Auburn University to being an assistant coach for CSU women's soccer, Tori Ball has been successful, to say the least. Another accomplishment on her storied career, Ball was recently inducted into the St. Paul Episcopal School Hall of Fame, where she played high school soccer. In Ball's playing career, she played for Auburn University. Looking back at her high school days, Ball was a state champion in 2009, a three-time state MVP, and all-time career goal leader at St. Paul. As an assistant coach for the Rams in 2018 and 2019, CSU had back-to-back seasons of the most successful years of the 8-year program's history. This season will be Ball's 4th season with the Rams.
Well, that's exciting to see. It's really cool to see we have some more next-level Rams, not just in football. We got a lot going on right now, so it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, moving on to some more positive CSU news, this time being spread throughout the next-level Rams community. Becky Hammond is back in the national spotlight after a mural featuring herself was recently constructed in downtown San Antonio. The mural shows Hammond as she looks on into the distance with the words "Never Stop" above her, as a younger self of herself looks up at the now accomplished NBA coach. Established artist Sebastian Boileau was the confirmed artist of the new mural, but hasn't released any more information on his motivations behind the project. This was also really cool. It's great that she's getting some more recognition off the court after the season's over. I know she was going for that head coaching job with the Pacers and didn't get it, but this is really cool that she's still got a lot of fans out there.
Oh, yeah, beautiful mural, too.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, COVID-19 continues to run amok through the NFL each week, making the season seem almost impossible to continue further we get into the season. But while the 2020 season continues to hang in there, the balance on a weekly basis, we will continue to bring our top 5 plays each week. Because week 8 in the NFL fell on Halloween weekend, we bring you some spooky footage to finish the month off right. Starting at the top of the list, at number 5, we have well-known trick play maker Patrick Mahomes. See, Mahomes, he goes right here, underhand, over to Travis Kelce. It's like it was nothing, right to the end zone. Here it is again, and see, he just side shovel right in, and super easy.
Now at number 4, we have the first punt return touchdown of the season throughout the entire league. Miami Dolphins player Hakeem Grant with his punt return, 88 yards, untouched. He hit those. He went off. The second he got around that last defender, there was no stopping him. Miami's defense and special teams took over that game.
Oh, yeah, and then we got Joe Burrow at the Bengals. He dodges all of those tackles and manages to not get the sack, and he gets through, he continues, and he almost gets to the first. Took that one upon himself.
Now for number 2, we have Phillip Rivers with a short pass out to Nyheim Hines with a spin move right there, and barely reaches into the end zone for the touchdown. But this celebration is what I want to look at. That was amazing. Only his second reception of the season, touchdown of the season, and he even got a compliment from Simone Biles.
All right, and this one, the final celebration here, number 1. You see his lock passes it over to rookie KJ Hamler, and he almost doesn't get it, but he's totally in bounds enough, and it was the game winner. And I'm sorry about that one, Rachel. All these looks here. Oh. It was just crazy to see that win.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about that.
Oh.
It's quite heartbreaking. I almost didn't want to wear my jersey coming in today, but I kind of had to because LaDainian Tomlin is probably the only one that hasn't disappointed me on the Chargers thus far, so it's the only one I'd be accepting of wearing after a loss like that to the Broncos.
At least you're in good spirits for that.
Anyway, we'll talk more about that later in our pick'ems, but with our plays wrapped up, it is time for Bird's Eye View, coming up after the break.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up 1 finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Boo! You know, just because Halloween is over, it does not mean you still can't get scared. That was just absolutely ridiculous. I am Ethan Bird, and welcome to another week of Bird's Eye View. Come on, you know the drill. Come and join me on down here. You see, Rams, I wore my Todd Gurley jersey today because I could not think of many things scarier than TG2 running at your defense in 2019 or Gurley approaching the end zone in the final minutes of an Atlanta Falcons lead. Okay, that's enough jokes, because today we're going to get a little uncomfy again. This week we will be, but we learned that it is important for us to be uncomfortable in order to gather understanding. So we'll be talking about social justice, and social justice in sports in particular. Our country has seen a racial reckoning since the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police, sparking conversations all over the nation and reigniting the Black Lives Matter movement. And as a white man in America, I will never truly understand the challenges and tribulations of my minority brothers and sisters in America. So I turned to conversation to understand. I zoomed in with Brooke Hudson of CSU Volleyball. You are one of, if not the most outspoken CSU athletes in terms of social justice and social issues. What does it mean to you to use your platform as an athlete to advocate for social justice?
I think for me, I was given this platform because of my athletic ability, but I'm so much more than just a volleyball player. Being a Black woman in today's society means so much more to me than being a volleyball player. I'm so thankful for CSU allowing me to use that platform, but I think it goes beyond volleyball, and that's why I use my platform today.
what are some of the ways that you try to educate the people around you?
Well, for starters, we, as a volleyball team, each year we do like a diversity and inclusion training, and just being in an open and comfortable space to talk about those things that I personally, as a Black female in this country, go through, or as a gay woman, there's so many things that you don't know until you get into those raw conversations. And I think that's the biggest thing. Also, sharing books and sharing podcasts and like news articles. And you've never talked about that in sports, but recently that's the biggest thing. And I think that's where I thrive in, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, voting, we get election day off, or just different things like that, bringing awareness to the little things that nobody would know if you don't talk about it every day.
And these conversations surrounding race have been circulating at CSU, but not for all the right reasons. A couple of weeks ago, as we know, the racial climate investigation into CSU athletics concluded, and Brooke had some choice words. As someone who is directly affected by this investigation and these conclusions, do you feel like this is enough?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't think it's enough. I think, to me, it was just another way to have Black student athletes be completely erased and their voices be completely erased by the system that we built here at CSU. I think when we hear a lot of the terms that have come up within the past few months with racial injustice and everything, is systemic racism. And this was just another way that Black student athletes and Black voices are silenced by the system. And I think that the system needs to be completely dismantled and have a way for Black student athletes to be completely heard and run and be safe here, because that's the biggest thing. CSU Athletics says that your athletes are safe here, but it was completely diminished and our voices were completely not heard. Within the investigation, you see that some people had racial insensitivity allegations, but then the president of the university comes out and says, well, most student athletes feel safe, but what about the others? If there's one, then it's not a safe place. And that's what I think my biggest issue is with the conclusions of that investigation.
Well, and one of the things with the investigation, 115 individuals were interviewed, but there's no statistics on the demographics that were interviewed. Do you feel like Black athletes were represented in this investigation?
I personally don't. I just honestly don't think Black people are represented in this athletic administration regardless. I mean, we have 0 Black head coaches. We have two athletic trainers, and then a few on basketball and stuff like that. But I just don't think Black athletes are represented well here at CSU and in Fort Collins in general. Mm-hmm.
And you told the Coloradoan last week that the investigation was a whitewash of the system, and it made you feel unseen, and that this is what systematic racism looks like. What kind of language within the conclusions of the investigation and even actions taken during the investigation made you feel that way?
I think for me, one of the conclusions was we need to have a place to build empathy for these racial insensitive actions. And why do you need to build empathy for that? I think if you have Black student athletes, which if you look at the demographics of CSU, majority of the Black students that go here are athletes, you shouldn't have to build empathy for that. You should have the empathy. You should go through these racial trainings. You should go through them before it gets to this place where we have to have an investigation to begin with. And I think that for me was the biggest thing. You should know how to deal with these situations, and you shouldn't have to build empathy for that. You should know what's going on in the country. You should know the current climate of the country right now. Mm-hmm. And you should already have that in your heart. You shouldn't have to build that. And I think that's where I was extremely disappointed.
And I could not begin to thank Brooke enough for sitting down and being vulnerable with me and really helping me to learn and understand. Her full interview will be posted on YouTube after the show. Now, like I said before, As white Americans, we cannot fully understand the experience of our minority neighbors. However, the lack of true understanding should never, ever lead to the lack of empathy. Our racial climate will never tilt in the right direction without empathy to the pain of our brothers and sisters within the human race. And as uncomfortable as those conversations can be, they will never go away. I mean, just look at sports. On October 16th, 1968, black Olympians Tommy Smith and John Carlos silently protested as they accepted their medals. Their fight is not over. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick knelt during the national anthem in protest of police brutality. His fight is not over. This year, in the NBA bubble, athletes use their voices and their actions to advocate for social change. Their fight is ongoing, and they were told to shut up and dribble. And now CSU's own athletes are advocating for the same fight. And there has never been a time to shut up and dribble, shut up and serve, and shut up and pitch. It's time for us to shut up and listen, especially with tomorrow's election. Use your vote to start the change that you want to see. Rachel and Erica have their CTV Sports Pickem up next. Until next week, Rams, I'm Ethan Burt.
Hi, Krista. Take you, Jamie, to be my wife.
The ceremony was a blast. It was just like this surreal moment of my dreams are coming true. When we found out that we were pregnant, we were just elated. We were just sitting there waiting for the pediatrician. She said, "Oh, I apologize. She won't be taking you in as a client." We are a lesbian couple, but she's just a baby. She's the one you're denying the service to. And sitting there in that small, cold room, I wanted to cry, just thinking, what did we bring this kid into? We're simply asking to treat our family the same way that you would treat any family.
Welcome back from the break, Rams, and to another week of our Pick'em. We went through last week and tallied up our picks to see who's gotten more right. As of now, I'm the one leading the game, hopefully, if I can keep it up.
Oh, my goodness. If I didn't go 0-3 that one time, it would be fine right now, but it's okay. It's fine.
Keep picking the Chargers.
I got to. I can't. I'm loyal. I can't go against them. That's just how it is. And if I picked that one game right, it would have been fine. But
hey, I got the Saints on that one. No one thought that would happen.
Well, not when you started it and they were already in the lead when we were talking about it. Nobody would think that, nope. Well, all right.
Another one.
All right, well, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are looking to bounce back from their loss to the Vikings against the injury-laden San Francisco 49ers. All right, well, I am going to take this one first, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say the Packers are going to win this game. That was kind of an easy decision for me. I mean, like this said, there's a depleted San Francisco lineup, but the thing that comes out to me is Devante Adams. He has been going off, especially in his last game against the Vikings. I mean, he had 3 completions for touchdowns. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season, which isn't a lot for him already, but, I mean, 3 in one game, that's kind of ridiculous. He was going all across the defense in that game. He's 43 for 58 of his targets, 502 yards, and he's not slowing down anytime soon either. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference for the Packers.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to go against you, and I'm going to pick the Niners. And I know it's, like, surprising with all the injuries and everything like that, but I think it's going to be a struggle having Kittle and Garoppolo out, but I do think that there is a good backup for Kittle. I think that Ross Dwally, he is not Kittle, but he still manages to get in there and really get through with those legs, and I see him really putting up a good fight, and I also think that Nick Mullen is really good for Garoppolo just being out because he hits those targets, and he still, he finds other people like Brandon Ayuk, and I just think that there is so much there with the running game still, so I think that they still have a good shot at this.
Okay, but you talk about their injury prone and how much they've lost already, and you only talk about their offense. The other thing is they are missing a bunch on defense, too. I mean, they're missing Nick Bosa. That was a huge loss for them. Missing Richard Sherman. That was a huge loss for them. I mean, that's what's making a difference for them already at this point. They have a lot of injuries on offense, but they're also missing a lot of key guys on the defense. And with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback and Devante Adams healthy as your wide receiver, they're going to be running over that secondary all game long. And, I mean, there's so many injuries. We talked about Nick Bosa already, Richard Sherman, Deebo Samuel is out, Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle, Raheem Mostert. That is just too much for the Niners, and I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome those losses right now. So,
I still think that they have the chance with all those key players too. Like, their backups are just as good, I think. So that's what makes me choose that the Niners are going to win this one.
Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see, because maybe their Super Bowl hangover really is a thing.
Oh, we'll find out.
All right. Well, what used to be the Battle of California is no longer, since the Raiders moved to Vegas. But the rivalry between the Chargers and the Raiders is still as strong as ever. Can Justin Herbert fix the fourth quarter blues of the Chargers, or will the up-and-coming Raiders be too much to handle? Erica, what do you think about this one?
Oh, I'm going with the Raiders on this one. I just think that the Raiders are coming off a 16-6 win against Cleveland, and they won their last 3 games. And I just think that they have running back Josh Jacobs. He has 31 carries, 128 yards, rushing attacks piled up for a season high with 208 yards just last week. I think that he really showed that he can be one of their key players as a running back for the Raiders, and they're built for speed. Raiders are built for speed, and I think that they're just going to be running all over the Chargers, all over them, just because they've shown in their last 3 games, almost all games, they have had the worst at the comebacks. Like, they can't keep their lead.
Biting my tongue over here. It's really hard to hear that. But yes, I agree. It's tough to see the Chargers like this. Well, I mean, not probably tough for you, but it's tough for me for sure. But I'm going to stick with the Chargers. Like I said before, I'm loyal. I will continue to be loyal. I have so much hope for Justin Herbert. He is already showing that he deserves to be in this league right now. He is right now, in my eyes and in a lot of other people's eyes, I would say he is a rookie MVP contender right now. I think it's really like him and Joe Burrow right now, but he is proving himself in this league. And the offense is doing fantastic. Justin Herbert is, I mean, he's got 15 touchdowns, but he's making those little mistakes, and I think that that's what's always ruined the Chargers in the past. Luckily, they didn't have any fumbles against the Broncos, but it was really hard for me to see them come back and lose that game. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that anymore because that breaks my heart every time. But like I said, it's these little mistakes. Herbert is doing great. And yes, he had those 2 touchdowns or 2 interceptions in the last game against the Broncos. But I think that if the defense can continue to hold off and not give up in the second half, that'll be a big difference. But it'll be different. It'll be an interesting game because both the Raiders and the Chargers are very iffy anyway. So we'll see what happens.
I had to make a choice, obviously. Lastly, of course, we have the Rams. So who are you picking on this one for the boot, Rachel?
Well, this one was a tough one too, but I'm going to go back to what it was before with the loyalty thing, and I'm going to go with the Rams in this one. And mainly it's just if the Rams can get a run game going. But having your quarterback be a leading rusher in a game should not be what's happening.
Oh, I agree with that. I chose the Rams as well. I definitely think that it was the wrong choice to start him, Centillo. And I think that he does have strengths for the Rams, but he also, there's other things like he knows the targets. So I just think that he's going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully they can bring the boot back to Fort Collins.
Oh, we'll be hopeful. Let's see. Well, that is all we have time for left for this week's picks. Stay updated on this week's football game. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at sports_CTV. I'm Erica Johnson.
And I'm Rachel Hallam. Tune in tomorrow night for Hunter Fillmore's weekly fantasy football breakdown. Good night, Rams.